Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is going to be a very basic introduction to form validation using VeeValidate and Zod. So I'll be doing a form validation. We'll be creating the forms and we'll be seeing two ways of validating using Zod. One is the component way, where basically you can use the component which are provided by VeeValidate, and the other is the composition API way, where you can basically use your own design system components. You can say either Beautify, Element UI, etc., your own in-house design system, and use the composition API to validate them. It will become clear when we write a code. So let me create a form.view form1.view. Here I've already went ahead and installed a couple of dependencies. Let me show you. We need a couple of them. One is the vValidate. First the vValidate, then we need Zod, and we need an integration of vValidate with Zod. The form validation in vValidate can be done using Zod as well as Yup, or maybe manually also, but I'll be using Zod in here. So let me first write a template here. So normally we have form to wrap everything, so we'll be using a form. Let me do it. Import. As you can see, vValidate has it. Now I'll be having a field also. You can say field is kind of an input tag, hence I'll give a type of text. And I need to give some couple of other things also. One is name. Name is going to be very much important, which is going to identify this field. For us, it's going to be an email, and we'll be needing something else also. Just let me create a label also. Since I told you field is kind of an input, so we'll be needing a label also. Here also I write email, and since I've written for, I'll just write ID here also. Some basic stuff of HTML. And vValidate helps us to basically do error validation also. Suppose if something error comes up below in our input, we'll be showing an error message with the with the basically error message. Okay. So how we normally have an error message in any form which we interact daily. So here error message is going to do that. So it also needs couple of things. One is the name for it to also identify. Here I'll be again having email. I'll give it a class of error also. Other than that, let me create one more. This will be password. Let me just do replace everywhere with password. This should work fine now. Now let us come below here. We need to do a couple of things. First of all, we need to basically we need to basically, from the form, we need to pass it the validation schema. This is going to be a schema which will identify what, basically we have told that email is there and password is there, but we need to write the rules for it. Like what does email mean exactly and what does password mean exactly. So here we need to write the validation schema. And we need to call something called two type schema of Zod. Oh, sorry, we validate. Here we need to pass a schema to it. So it, by default we need to add object, and I need to import Zod also. And I'll be having couple of properties. One is going to be the email property, which is going to be a string. It has to be minimum length of 1. If it is not there, then I'll write this is required. Other than that, one more thing is I think it should main or what? Yeah, it should main, I guess. And other than that, we need to also have it some extra check also we need to add. Let me check. It's email. Yeah. Basically, the email needs to have at least some string, and then we'll just check whether it's an email or not. It needs to be an email. You can give better error message there. Again, we'll create one more password. Let me copy it somewhat similar only. And here I'll just write this is required because it's just going to be a password. So now we need to pass the validation schema here. Now let me clarify one more thing. See, as this name and this name and this name as well as this name are important. They need to be the same thing, as well as this password and here password as well as this password. They need to be same. Otherwise, it's not going to work properly. And one more thing, I think I have missed a button also. Basic form needs to have a button with a type submit. And I think maybe this should work. Let us import it. We have the schema, we have this, we have the basic things. Obviously, we need to do something else also. When submit is called, we'll be calling a function. When this form submit is done, let me create a function for this. This is going to basically alert it. Now let's see if everything works fine or not. Let me refresh it. As you can see, we have form, and it seems I forgot to put a label here. Let me add them. Here as well, I need to put password. And let me do one thing. Let me give the style now itself. Style scope form is gonna be what? I'll just give a basic display of X and a gap of 1 rem. Just some basic stylings. We'll see if everything works fine other than that. And for error, I'll just give a color of red. Now let me refresh it. And yeah, I need to give it a column also. And I need to give a max fit also. Sorry about that. 15 rem should be okay, I guess. And let me give a margin also now. This should at least, yeah. Now, if I click on it and go outside, it's saying it's required. If I type something and just go outside saying it needs to be an email, now let me add a proper email. The rate of gmail.com app. Then when you click on password, I go outside saying it's required. Now if I give it, let me do it. Let me write here minimum 8. I will give it minimum 8. Too short. This is better, I guess. At least we want the password to be at least 8 length. Now let me again write it Mohit at the rate of ss.com, whatever. Now password is we go outside, it's required. If I type something, go outside too short. If I start typing longer, it's okay, done. Submit. As you can see, we're getting the validated values. And interestingly, if you open your Vue DevTools, this is quite nice, honestly speaking, from my point of view. Let me refresh it again. I don't know why sometimes happens for me. We have a VeeValidate tab also. It becomes very easy. See, as you can see, it's saying email is filled, and let me click on email. It's saying it's not valid. It's not valid for password also. Now let me start typing some things here. As you can see, I go outside. It needs to be an email says. Now if I make it an email, saying valid is true and the error is gone. Now for same for password also, if I go here, and by the way, if you notice it become greens now. Form is still red because password has not been input till now. I click it, it's too short. As you can see, everything is green and we can submit it. So this is very nice. If you get anywhere stuck, you can just use the DevTools. So other than that, let us now create something similar for using composition API because see, in any kind of application you're building, if you have your own design system, you can't use the components which are provided VeeValidate. So in that scenario, composition API makes more sense. I need to do a couple of things. First of all, let me change it to form. Here field also I need to make it input. Error, I'll just make it a span. I need to close it also. And here name doesn't make sense. So I'll remove this. I'll remove this also. Now let me remove all of this stuff. Then validation schema also we can't pass it in the form because it's a native element doesn't know it. Add submit we can listen. We need to call auth and submit. That's okay. Now this validation schema I need to pass to something called use form, which is there from VValidate. I'm not sure where it's coming up. Let me just import it manually. This needs a couple of things. Mainly it needs a validation schema, as you can see. So I'll just write validation schema and both are named same. So it works fine. And let me destructure a couple of things from this. One is going to be the handle submit. There are a lot of things as you have seen, but we need couple just many just simple things in here. And one is errors. So handle submit, here we need to basically change the on function. We need to maybe create const, you can say, whatever it's up to you. Here we need to basically wrap it. This is going to basically take the callback function. What happened? Okay. Yeah, I think this works fine now. So this is basically going to take a listener, or you can say callback function, which is basically is going to pass the values when it validates correctly. And we are going to use errors to basically populate the errors in our code. And again, here name has to be same. As you can see, it came from email. Similarly for password also. Now we have done the on submit. Now we need to also do some couple of things like errors I have to handle now. So we need to do also something called use field. Again, I don't know why. Let me import it from here. So use field, I need to basically call the field. The thing what I'm trying to say is like, these all are like input tags or span tags. Now we know we would like to track it. Previously, we were able to track it using the components as such. So in here we need to do so. So for that, I need to again do v model here. I'll give it a name or email. Let me add in below later. So now let me create them. I'll be creating them using use something called use field. Here we need to again pass the same names like email and password like here. These are important, otherwise you'll get weird issues. You'll not be able to debug also properly. Here again password. Now it might look weird if it's your first time. We are going to basically get the value out of this and I'll basically convert it to email because we are having using this email inside here. Otherwise you might need to email.value.value. You might have to write here email.value, which looks clumsy. So that's why I'll just convert this value. And similarly here also, here to the password. But if it's the first time, let me just first of all show you whether everything works fine or not. Let's see. Email outside. We need fish first. Email outside. It needs to be an email at the rate of ss dot. This is required. Something similar how we had done previously. So let me write it with uh, at the rate of ss.com. Password is going to be something too short. Let me write something. Okay, now everything is working fine. Let me do submit. As you can see, submit is also working fine. So this was it. I think that was it for this whole video. This is just a basic introduction to VeeValidate and using basic form validation using VeeValidate and Zod. If you'd like me to go more in depth, let me know in the comments. Based on that, based on the comments, I'll see if it makes sense to make more extensive videos on this.